just Onside. It's a Wednesday. I was hoping I'd be relaxing, but it would be awfully rude if I didn't indulge our brother Owes, who is a supporter of a team that's won the league. Uh, Silly question, but how the hell are you feeling?
Ayub, I must say, right out from the gate, it feels actually vastly different to how I thought I'd feel. I was up until half three in the morning yesterday, texting lots of friends. And as much as all the different anxiety and stress and the nervousness that you have throughout such a title race, when you do kind of cross that line, it feels 10 times better than I thought it would, actually. So it feels incredible, mate. It's been the most joyous day. I've had actually quite a hectic day, which is why we're shooting this, I think, around 7:30 p.m. UK time, a bit later than usual. But yeah, still absolutely bouncing off the walls. It's an amazing feeling to have finally done it. How are you, mate?
I'm not too bad at all. I'm pretty good. I mean, I'm disappointed with the result. I mean, we'll talk about the game yesterday because, uh, well, I certainly was expecting a tough game. We did sort of say that it was going to be a tricky game, but I did expect Man City to win. But I mean, in terms of bottle, I think they bottled it twice. They bottled it against Everton, and yesterday, albeit, I mean, Bournemouth were really impressive. I must confess that performance from Bournemouth. You would have thought that's the second or third game of the season. The energy, how sharp they were, how hungry, the attitude, the application. I mean, that was Iriola at his finest. I mean, it's not a massive side, but my goodness me, in terms of the way that they approached that game, they were superb, and they were. I mean, they in certainly in all honesty deserved to win the game, but it's probably a reason why I think Pep is right to be leaving. I mean, I've always said he's an overrated coach, and when it really mattered, I think he's fluffed his lines. So forget about sort of Man City for the time being.
Mm.
We talked often about emotion. I mean, it's sport is about emotion, especially as a spectator, as a fan. I mean, you've just obviously said that the feelings were absolutely unbelievable, much more than what you expected in terms of the state of euphoria. But were you watching the obviously I presume you were watching the City game. Just go through sort of your emotions through the game, and then obviously when because there was a right at the death. I mean, it wasn't a clear-cut chance, but there was a bit of a sort of bobbling ball outside the box, and somebody could have struck it and could have gone in the top corner. So just go through it and obviously tell me about what your thoughts were when Haaland scored. I mean, it was only about a minute, 2 minutes to go, but it must have been nerve-wracking and a long 2 minutes. Go on, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, Ayub. The game, I mean, you're right, let's cover the game and then perhaps we can get into larger picture with Arsenal there afterwards. Now, the game itself, Ayub, the game was 10:30 p.m. local time kickoff, 7:30 p.m. UK time. I decided not to watch it, but I did decide to stay awake throughout. I didn't feel comfortable in back-to-back games to have, let's say, a lot invested into the title race. One was watching Arsenal against Burnley, which was quite exhausting in and of itself, especially given that it's in your hands. You get the result over the line. I didn't feel then comfortable to do back-to-back nights and have some sort of level of investment. Ultimately, if you remember, we spoke about it with the players that they should have. I mean, they did watch the game. I think they watched at least definitely the second half of the game and what have you. You saw some of the pictures emanating from the training ground, but it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you're hoping for a result, and imagine that scenario, like you mentioned, right at the very death. If City do get an incredible winner in the 96th, 97th minute, the emotions of then having to get yourselves ready for Palace. So I think that's a very careful balancing act you have to kind of manage. So I decided not to watch it. I was following the game. I was also following some other stuff online, just reading some content just to stay a little bit distracted. Obviously, Bournemouth go ahead with a wonderful goal from a player who's going to be well sought after, Krupi.
Mm, yeah.
Incredible finish for a man of such young age, I would say. But incredible finish. Just it's not just the touch and finish. It's just the speed at which his mind works. It's touch bang, pick a spot. Donnarumma literally does not move. Incredible goal, and by all intents and purposes, from what I read there afterwards, Bournemouth were relatively comfortable for the most part. had opportunities. I believe Ryan missed a really good chance to make it 2-0, which probably would have been a game set match. I think Brooks had one very late on, again, kind of going through on goal from what I read. It got to the 89th minute, Ayub, and then I thought it might be good to watch because I wanted to catch, in the event that the result did go Arsenal's way, I wanted to catch immediately some of the reaction from the Emirates Stadium, from inside, from outside, because for that reason alone, I switched on to the game. 91st minute, you see that the 6 minutes added on. You're thinking 5 minutes, can they get 2 goals? It's Man City. But they looked like they were just huffing and puffing at that stage. Long balls going forward, ricochets, headers, all the rest of it. But you're right, a scramble then leads to the ball coming off the post. Haaland with what was a wonderful finish with his left foot. I looked at the time straight away, 94 and a half minutes. And then just behind me, as you can see, my apartment living room, I stopped pacing literally up and down, thinking it can't be, surely it can't be where I even started doing the kind of the basic rules of football, thinking who takes the centre? Oh yeah, Bournemouth take the centre. So that's another 10 seconds wasted. Your mind starts to work in very weird ways at that particular time. Uh, and then you're absolutely right to point out, you City then circulate the ball in a way where they kept winning a couple of 50-50s. Bournemouth had a chance to break and really put the game out of doubt in terms of just running into a corner and what have you, but they messed up a couple of counter-attacking opportunities. And then Savino, I mean, incredible. He rides one challenge, two challenges on the left-hand side. He's running towards the penalty box. And for me, the footballing world life just stopped. It froze for a little while. You're absolutely right. You saw it literally. I couldn't have described it any better than you did. It gets cut back, and I'm thinking someone's just gonna sweep this in. And you can just imagine what that would have meant from an Arsenal. I kept revisiting the kind of emotion of how can you be minutes away from winning a title for the first time in 22 years and have this perhaps ripped away from you, where you then have to go and get a result on the last game of the season, which I think as the days passed, people more and more came to the opinion, I think, within the footballing fraternity, that it was going to be a more difficult game than perhaps originally thought, given that Glasgow was making some noises about playing a relatively strong team, it's away from home, and all the rest of it. But anyway, I think there was a bit of a kerfuffle. Bournemouth managed to kind of get it clear. I thought Tierney actually could have played another half a minute. There was a little bit of time wasted in the 6 minutes. So I think he did blow a little early, which I could sense that City were a little bit upset about. But yeah, the whistle goes, and then it starts to sink in that you're Premier League champions. It comes on the ticker at the bottom as well. They shoot to scenes outside the Emirates Stadium. It started to fill very quickly with fans. Incredible scenes. I don't know if you saw. And then it's just a feeling of euphoria. I'll cover perhaps my general feelings of Arsenal, Arteta, and just a larger picture of how I felt. But just in terms of the game itself and the night, that's how it all transpired. Watched more TV for about half an hour, just again, more reaction, more noise. Then it's just, as you often do, you're following leads and what have you, just trolling through social media. So much good content out there. You saw how the Arsenal players watched the final moments. There's that look of bewilderment on Saliba as more time is being added on. You then see Hincapie with the famous Arsenal bottle in his hand. And then it's just euphoric scenes, isn't it? You have absolute carnage, as it should be. You've worked hard all season to have a moment like that. So yeah, incredible. Stayed awake till 3:30. Had to wake up super early today as well. But yeah, I've never been more happy when I've woken up on about 3.5 hours of sleep. So yeah, incredible night, incredible feeling. Lots of texting with friends and family into the late hours, or early hours, I should say. But yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Really was.
I mean, that's beautifully summarized. I mean, it's what sport is all about, because it gives you those extremes of emotions. I mean, for me, there's been lots of downs, but it then does mean that when you do get a high, it's incredible. And it's a strange thing, because I mean, I sort of, people who aren't really invested in supporting a sporting team are always quite sort of bemused as to why sort of somebody like us will be so engaged and so involved in something that really, I mean, technically, there's no real. We're not gaining anything. We're not involved in it directly, but it's an emotion. It's a feeling. It's an affinity, and it's times where it really is where everything else is a material. And for that moment, it is almost there's a euphoria that cannot be matched. You're absolutely right. It's a strange one. I mean, people talk about sort of the birth of children's marriages, stuff like that, but it's a different sort of feeling with sport because it is pure, unadulterated euphoria, and it really is. It's almost like a personal moment because it's as I said, when you have sort of the birth of a child, it's a sort of shared experience. This is something which is personal, unique. Whilst there's lots of other fans as well, perhaps, but this is something which is so personal. So really, really well put. And it, I, I must confess, I mean, I watched the whole game, and it just, I mean, from the game itself, as I said, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, it's still not official that got sort of Pep is going, but after watching that game, I think that is the right thing to do because I must confess that it was I wouldn't say it's a flat performance, but it's certainly not a performance where uh, if you're going for the league, I expected a lot more. I mean, in fact, in the middle of the pot, you had Rodri and Kovacic. I mean, they look like two pensioners. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Rodri, but I must confess that he's maybe it's the end of the line. Maybe injuries have taken its toll, but they look pedestrian in comparison to Bournemouth. And you talked about Krupi, absolutely magnificent. I mean, he scored a wonderful goal against us. And he's got the world at his feet. I think this guy is capable of sort of reaching the highest level. And I would be very, very surprised if there's not a lot of interest in this kid during the summer because he is superb. He's absolutely superb. Right. But enough about Man City. This is your day. You tell me now. I mean, in terms of uh, sort of Arsenal, in terms of Arteta, sort of what sort of where do Arsenal go from here? Because you've often talked about that if they win the league once, it could be the beginning of sort of many great things going forward. So go on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've tried to be as consistent as possible. We've spoken about Arsenal many times, and we've spoken about Leeds many times on camera, off camera, next to one another at work. And the one consistent aspect that I've always believed in is that if you have football is about wins and losses, sport is about ultimately wins and losses at the highest level in the professional ranks. But you sometimes have to go a little bit deeper in terms of analysis to understand, do you have the right people at the football club to take the club in the direction that it needs to be at? It's as though it's the platform on which you're going to then build to then achieve those wins and losses that we often speak about, which is the ultimate arbiter of success in the professional ranks. And I think that's fair enough. I've always believed with Arsenal, especially with this particular manager, that they have what it takes, that he is the right man for the job. I mean, you look at his league finishes just in the most basic commentary: eighth, fifth, second champions. There is somewhat linear in terms of the progress
Mm.
that they've made. And I think Arsenal's success is a unique one in terms of the longer it went, the different iterations of Arsenal that we've seen. We think about the latter Wenger years, when they became an incredibly soft team, a nice team. They were obviously paying for the Emirates Stadium. Ayub at the time,
Mm. Yeah.
the whole move, I think it was 2005 to the Emirates Stadium when they, I think, opened up the league campaign at home to Villa. I think I remember Olaf Melberg scored. The whole idea was that this stadium over time will help us to compete at
Mm.
the very top table. And at that particular time, they were obviously paying for the stadium and the rest of it. So they were shipping players. They weren't a destination. They were a destination for young players. But as soon as those young players started to show some promise within the Arsenal shirt, other big teams came to pick them off. Barcelona, be it Manchester City, be it Manchester United, to give Sir Alex Ferguson that final title win with the purchase of Robin van Persie. You'll remember famously.
Mm.
So Arsenal were this kind of soft team, nice team, a team that played decent football, but ultimately had no business whatsoever in being discussed in the upper echelons of not just domestic football, but on the European level. I mean, they were getting slapped at you in the round of 16 quarters, playing seasons in the Europa League. Look at Arteta in the last couple of years when he's got Arsenal into the Champions League. You know, we're talking quarterfinal success, then semi-final success, and now in the final. Again, very linear progress when you think about it. Now, I've just long believed, like I said, he's an incredible manager. Yes, he needed the trophies to validate and put himself right up there with the biggest names. I think he's arrived. I think it's his time. I don't think anyone can take anything away from him. You think about some of the ridicule that Arsenal have been subjected to. I'm all for constructive criticism of a football club. When you're not doing all you can as a big football team to compete at the very highest level, you can have accusations leveled at you in terms of decisions that they make. You think about Patrice Evra speaking about how Arsenal are your typical Netflix series. You're always looking forward to the next season because that's all they're good for. Some of the embarrassment towards Arsenal that comes from that. John Obi Mikel constantly this year ridiculing Arsenal's kind of physicality and holding at corners, and he's getting more and more irate in his weekly kind of podcasts and what have you. And I just sometimes think it's a little bit unbecoming of an ex-football player. But yeah, just a constant subject. I want to say the abuse, but the kind of ridicule that
Mm.
Arsenal was subjected to, the scrutiny that they don't have the bottle for it. If you look at Arsenal's MO this year, they got very comfortable with the uncomfortable in terms of scoring goals, defending 1-0 leads. It's the most difficult you can be in terms of in a game. You've got a slender lead. Can you be uncomfortable as the whole crowd and everybody's getting super anxious and stressed that suddenly something's going to happen and you're going to come a cropper? But they stood the test of time. After the defeat at Etihad, they went clean sheet, clean sheet, clean sheet,
Mm.
clean sheet. And that's the test of champions. I said it many months ago, Yub. If they keep Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, and Rice fit, they'll go very, very close, if not win the league. And that's exactly what they've done. And
Mm.
those four players at the end have absolutely been top quality. When push came to shove, when the games were in terms of their most significance, the level of importance was heightened to the nth degree. Those players really came to the fore. All these
Mm.
question marks about Arsenal, can they handle it when the pressure's coming on? They've dealt with all of those questions. I never once thought it was a question of bottle in the previous years. Again, I think there's a misnomer about last season. They did not challenge. I don't think that was a case of bottling it. I don't think even in some of the other seasons before, they were just beaten ultimately by a better team. Don't forget, I think their points total in previous seasons where they've fallen short was much higher than actually what they would have, even if they win against Palace. So I think you've got to put some of the things into context. So from an Arsenal perspective, just incredibly pleased that they've been able to put some of that nonsense, and I call it nonsense, to bed by being champions. And just a quick word for the manager, I think he's one of the best coaches in the world. I've long believed that. I believe in the way he manages that group of players, the way he implores loyalty from them, the way you can see that his team is playing for him. Think about the last time you had a negative soundbite coming out from the Arsenal dressing room,
Mm.
from the Arsenal squad. You can't think of one. That tells you a little bit about the control that that man has at the football club. Is he the most powerful sporting person at that football club? He absolutely is. Now, Stan Kroenke and Josh Kroenke, his son, are the most important people because ultimately they own the gaff. But Mikel Arteta is the most important person at that football club. He rules that club, not necessarily with an iron fist. It's not so much Ferguson because I think he does have a certain level of charisma. You can see his affinity with the players' affinity with him. But he is what I would call your perfect quintessential 2026 manager of an elite football team where he still commands respect. He still commands, or he has the ability to influence games from the touchline, key substitutions, key tactical switches. But ultimately, he's not one to be taken on by any one of his players, and you see that because none of them ever do. He's an incredible
Mm.
manager. You, a top coach. Everything he's done this year in terms of some of the quotes, some of the acquisitions, some of the tactical adjustments has been absolutely spot on, Ayub. And I'm just glad. And I think I would say, in some ways, Ayub, I'm glad that Arsenal did fall short in some of these years because I've always long felt that you do need to go through a little bit of adversity to at least appreciate, in a sense, how good you had it. Manchester United, after 2 years of dominance, would never have thought, I think they won, what, 13 out of 20 league titles or something along those lines. They would have never thought they're going to go more than a decade without
Mm,
winning another one. It just seems unfathomable. I mean, you and I lived through that era.
yeah.
You'd never think it, Liverpool of the 80s and what have you. So there is nothing's guaranteed in football, but what you can say from an Arsenal perspective, Ayub, is they are well positioned to kick on. The standard is the standard. You should never compromise on those standards. I'm not going to go as far as to say they can now run roughshod, let's say, over this league, but they are really well positioned. They've got some of the best players in the world playing in some of the most crucial positions, locked up, tied into contracts, happy at the football club. They've got one of the best managers in the world as well. Their financial state of health is incredible. That's big money coming in for winning the league and getting to the Champions League. And I looked at some of their financial results recently. It's pretty sound. Josh Kroenke spoke a couple of weeks ago about not standing still, irrespective of how the season ends. You just sense that Arsenal are going to kick on from here. They have now become one of the destination clubs in world football, and that was not the case. And when you think about, and you and I have spoken about this, Hugh, we've worked together for a number of years, this more overarching piece about how do you build an organization? What are some of the elements that you must build into an organization to kind of encounter success and to build success? We talk about values, we talk about culture. We've spoken about it many, many times about all the different principles that you have to build. Mikel Arteta, when he came into Arsenal Football Club, this was a joke of a football club. They were nothing. They were nowhere. Apathy, fan engagement, just none. It was a non-event. And now you see yesterday the scenes outside the Emirates Stadium, absolute euphoria. That's simply down to one man, and that one man is Mikel Arteta. So, final word I would say from an Arsenal perspective is you may not like their style, but you sure as hell will respect them because they are a damn good footballing outfit and they're a bloody hard team to beat. So yeah, champions of England sitting atop the footballing pyramid in this country. And I'm hopeful that for the forthcoming years, they'll be able to keep setting a high standard because it's an incredible bar that they've set for themselves first and foremost. And I think they will be the front runners in terms of favourites heading into next season as well.
Really well put. I mean, you can't argue with that. I mean, and you're right. I mean, I think it's more the style of play, and maybe sometimes he. I mean, he conducts himself really well, Arteta. But there are some people who obviously seem to sort of be rubbed up the wrong way by Arteta. And I do believe that he's had the squad to be able to sort of win it before. But in terms of progress. And in terms of what he's made this Arsenal side, I mean, it is a machine. I mean, I said at the start of the season, it was like a machine. It was and I said at the start of the season, they were the best side in world football, best club side in world football. I mean, they've had the odd hiccup, but ultimately it's about winning the biggest prize, and they have done that. And you are absolutely right. That game after City, if there was any sort of concern about whether they were bottling it, they proved in sort of in absolutely clear fashion that it wasn't something that was going to sort of be accused towards them. I mean, I've already talked about Man City. I think Man City bottled it, and it was wonderful to see from a neutral perspective the contrasting styles. Now, obviously, as a neutral, I think most people
Mm,
perhaps do prefer that sort of purer form of game that Guardiola plays. But I've got to give respect, ultimate respect to Arteta. A, because he's won something, and I always sort of say, if you win something, yeah, that just commands respect. But it's as a coach, he has instilled a steel in this side that really there is. I mean, it's historically it used to always be 1-0 to the Arsenal, and I think this side is very much where if they take the lead, you're almost sort of thinking it's going to be nigh on impossible to break them down. And it requires a great deal of coaching because I
yeah.
mean it's of all of these Premier League clubs, not many clubs keep as many clean sheets. Not many clubs are as impenetrable as Arsenal when they've got all their back five playing. And obviously you include Rice in there as well. You're absolutely right. And it's if they're adding to what they've already got, my goodness me, next season's going to be a cracker. I mean, it will be. I think the City will be serious
Yeah.
contenders as well. I think they've made some nice recruitments. We've talked about Gay and we've talked about Semenyo, but I'm absolutely convinced they'll make some more recruitments. They will need to. After yesterday's performance, they will need to upgrade, certainly in the middle of the park. But it all goes well for a cracking season next year. And but for Arsenal, it's still not finished. You've got the Champions League, so I don't know whether you want to talk about the Champions League as well as to whether this will be a real boost to their Champions League game as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just very quickly. I mean, think about again, we spoke last week, or was it yesterday? I think on the divergence of the two different outcomes, right? You have, let's say, the Premier League title going to the final day. Anything goes, anything can happen. If that doesn't go your way, you've then got to go into a Champions League final knowing this is our last chance for success. And it's an incredible opportunity. But I wouldn't have I wouldn't have seen a route for them to win that game
Mm,
because I just think the mental uh, difficulty to navigate not winning the Premier League title, which seems like a lot. It is by definition a longer competition. It's the one they want. It's the one they wanted at the start of the season. It's the one you fight for from the very beginning, from August 2025, to then lose it in an agonizing fashion in the final day. Can you imagine then having to brush yourself off 6 days later for the biggest game
mm,
of your life after what is the most disappointment of your life? And I
mm,
think that's just a very difficult thing for a human being, regardless of how strong you are mentally, to overcome. And I don't think they would have had any chance. Now they go into that game probably off the back of 12, 13 days of rest because Palace will now be, Arteta will be very careful, let's say,
mm,
about the selection that he picks on Sunday. I don't think it's going to be a case of rust between the Burnley game and the Champions League game. I think footballers would love to have 10, 11, 12 days off, maybe a couple of days off without even any training, just to let the body just fully
mm,
recover and what have you. But they can now go into that game with a real, I mean, they're champions. And I think that
mm,
aura, that confidence that you wear has to give you a greater chance than you had, let's say, 24 hours ago. I just have to believe that. Now, I don't see it as some people say it in some ways that a Champions League final is a free hit. There's no free hits. I mean, let's
mm,
be very clear. This is the preeminent European competition. Arsenal have etched themselves in history, but it's a different stratosphere if you win the Champions League in the same season, especially. I mean, it's something they've never done before. They've at least won the Premier League before. Now it's 22 years.
mm.
They've never won the Champions League. So that really truly is the definition of history.
Yeah.
To do it in the same season, that puts Arteta in kind of rarefied air in terms of what his standing would be in European football and in world football. I just have to believe this team. I mean, Premier Leagues are not guaranteed. Sure as hell, Champions League finals are definitely not guaranteed. You just do not know when you're next going to have this opportunity. I repeat, they had Leverkusen, Sporting, Atletico. Not the most difficult run, I would
Mm,
absolutely accept. They did the hard yards in the group stages to get that draw. So I think it goes both ways. You've got to give them credit. They've not lost the game. I think they've conceded, what, six, maybe seven goals in that competition, much less than the very next team. So they've got a great opportunity, Ayub. They have to be absolutely focused going into that game. I think it's wonderful that they think, well, we're champions. So you're going to play with a certain level of freedom, which I think is not a bad thing from an Arsenal perspective. But I just have to believe that today they stand a better chance of getting over the line in the Champions League final than they did 24 hours ago when they weren't Premier League champions. I mean, you look at some of the pictures, the scenes. How can you not bounce into that game thinking I've got 90 minutes, 120 minutes to put my name down in Arsenal history, to become the first captain to lift the Champions League, to become, put myself in the most kind of, those kind of elite level midfielders. If it's Declan Rice, can you imagine your Champions
mm,
League winning midfielder? He goes into that World Cup thinking, I'm the
mm.
best in the world at what I do. There's just so much to play for. I don't think these opportunities come all the time, I guess, unless you're Real Madrid or one of these football clubs. For Arsenal, it sure as hell hasn't come as consistently as I would like. So yeah, it's just an incredible opportunity. And if they do cross the line in the Champions League, I mean, I was with my son earlier today, and he was telling me if you think winning the Premier League feels good, Champions League is just different gravy altogether. So let's see, a wonderful opportunity. But yeah, Champions of England, Ayub, and it feels amazing today. It'll feel amazing tomorrow and the day after that. And then we've got a number of days off. I did say to the family that with Eid off, with Eid holidays next week, if Arsenal are champions, we will for sure take 2 or 3 days off somewhere and go for a nice spa break or hotel break and what have you. So, yeah, taking a few days off next week, treating the missus and the family should be a wonderful few days.
And it will be a wonderful summer as well. I mean, it will be wonderful next year as well, and because that's the whole point. Until the end of next season, you are Premier League champions, so richly deserved. And I think it's. I mean, obviously we've known each other for a long, long time. I've always had digs at Arsenal, but I'm absolutely chuffed to bits for you because I know as a fan, sort of what it means supporting your team, and obviously especially when your team sort of has
Yep.
success. And I suppose success is defined in different ways. For me,
Yep.
success is staying in the Premier League. But I'm absolutely thrilled to bits, and you're going to have a wonderful summer on the back of this, and richly deserved. So I'll give you the final word, seeing as it's obviously sort of Arsenal's it's the Arsenal day. You say the final word. What? There's a handful of Arsenal fans, and what's your sort of abiding memory of this season?
Abiding memory of this season will be this feeling of overcoming all 22 years, 22 barren years of Arsenal ultimately not being part of that discussion. There's nothing worse, as a supporter of a big football club. I mean, Leeds will not win the Premier League title in your lifetime. That's the lot that
How
you've
dare you?
chosen. Uh,
We nearly got to the FA Cup final. I never thought we'd even get to that stage. So you never know. But you're right. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, but that's your lot. That's the team that's pulling on your
Mm,
heartstrings. And you're right, success is defined differently. You feel like you have
mm,
won the league because you survived in this league, and that's fair. Everyone's got very
mm,
different objectives, and that's all clear. But for Arsenal, you're 22 years. There's nothing worse than falling short than actually not being part of that conversation all throughout this title race. You as anxious as it was, and let's be honest, Arsenal play a very anxious style. You're always kind of biting your fingernails at the very end. I never once felt as though, man, this is too much. Like I just prefer it when they're just not even, part of this kind of title race. I never once felt that. If you want to win the biggest trophies, you want to compete against the very big teams, you go head to head, you take them on.
mm,
You saw Haaland's comments yesterday. I'm going to cut him some slack because it was immediately after the game, but he was a bit terse in not wishing to offer congratulations to Arsenal. He was very specific of about offering congratulations to Martin Odegaard and Martin Odegaard only. Again, gonna cut him some slack. It was immediately after the game. But that's what it means. It's rivalry. It's Pep
mm,
Guardiola. It's Manchester City, what they represent. You're in there fighting with the very biggest teams. And that's what elite sporting competitions should be about. Arsenal are part of that conversation now after years of not being part of that. And they should cherish that. And Arsenal fans should cherish that and value that. It's never taken for granted. They have a standard now. They have a manager who's brought the big time back to Arsenal Football Club. And I always knew he would. I was his biggest supporter, if you
mm.
remember, for many, many years. And I knew that this day most likely would come if he just continued to improve. So, yeah, enjoy it, cherish it, value it. Hope that we can go again next season, the season after that, because, again, this is the standard and we shouldn't fall short of compromising on those standards.
Absolute fantastic, and it's been an absolute pleasure to sense. I can sense your euphoria and your joy. Right. So on that note, but we are going to be shooting again on Friday. We've obviously talked about the euphoria of the Arsenal. We're going to get our dear friend Moggy back on Friday for a relegation special. So look out for that one. So until then, take care. We'll
Yeah,
see you
I was just
soon.
I was just going to say very quickly before you sign us off again. So, sorry to interrupt you, but who would have thought in May 20th or 21st, whatever day it is today, that I mean, Arsenal have won the Premier League title, Leeds have survived, and here we are bringing our third amigo Moggy on because
Mm,
he himself could be support of a team that could get relegated. I mean, you could not make this
yeah,
up,
yeah.
but yeah, you're right. We'll be shooting on Friday. Hopefully, keen to get his
I'm
thoughts. You can sign
I
us off
I
again.
can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, that to me is something that I'm so looking forward to. I mean, and I've told Moggy, and I've exchanged messages with Moggy, and I've told him, apart from swearing, he can let rip. So it should be a spicy one. So until then, make sure you tune in. See you later.